Let's talk about a video game that isn't Overwatch. Let's talk about the last expansion pack for our Game of the Year 2015, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Blood and Wine, Jake, we had you on a little while ago to talk about it. Was it last week or the week before?
2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, it was after our preview event that Rob and I both played.
This game fell in like a weird embargo time where we got you in to talk about it early but couldn't really talk about it. And it's out today, I guess.
Yep. Yeah. You can get it on PSN, Xbox, whatever, for $20.
Cool. All right. So let's chew into it, I guess. You've completed it. I'm guessing you're going through it a second time already.
Yeah, so I finished it last week, and now that I have it on PlayStation 4, I have my actual save, so I can kind of see what the differences are with a save that I've played through.
Cool, awesome. Rob, you played a bit of it as well?
Yeah, well, we had the preview version, so I got like the first, 2 hours we played, I think?
Yeah, I think it was about 2 hours, 2-3 hours.
So I've gotten a nice taste of it. But yeah, all weekend I've been kind of trying to play catch up with Hearts of Stone.
Right.
And just getting familiar. Well, what was cool was that Friday the build we saw had this update that was implemented last Friday.
Oh, with all the UI stuff?
Yeah. So I got to mess around with that, and that was really helpful to like kind of come back into the game with.
Let's talk about that a little bit first, actually. What is in that update? What's in it? It's like UI stuff, like the map apparently like zooms out way better and stuff.
Yeah, the map is much more responsive. I think there's always like a kind of like a second delay with a lot of that UI, but regardless, the map is really cool. What I think I love the most is so often you're like going back and forth into the map, but now you have like up to 3 different types of waypoints you can set. So you can set like a boss. It's like, say you run across like a really high level boss that's out in the open. You can like mark that specific spot with the red skull and be like, okay, now I know what's there.
I'll
then
come
move
back
on.
there in like 3 levels or whatever.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so there's different types of that. So I was having a blast like setting different like waypoints, trying to like catch up on all these quests. But yeah, the UI in general is, it's probably the best update I've seen to that as far as UI goes. Yeah, like they've split up like your armor and weapons nicely.
Right.
So you can now basically like differentiate an armor repair kit and a weapon repair kit, because those are so similar. And
I mean, that whole UI was a bit of a, like they eventually got there. Like with so much of this game, they eventually got there. And that's kind of cool. Like they made good on sort of adding in like the extra control stuff and all that. And I guess we're coming up on a year now almost until it's out. So great that we have a second expansion pack. Rob was talking about Hearts of Stone. First question, actually, with Blood and Wine, do you sort of need to have Hearts of Stone completed? Do you need to have the game completed? What do you think is like the perfect time to come in to play Blood and Wine?
So you don't need to complete Hearts of Stone. I recommend it just because if you're playing off your sort of main save, it'll kind of level you up to that point.
Got it.
So you're ready for it. But I mean, you don't really have to. I think 34 is about where you want to start on that. And then in terms of story-wise, you can pretty much jump in whenever, although I recommend doing it later rather than earlier because of some of the end game stuff. It's probably better just to wait.
But you don't necessarily need to have like Witcher 3 like finished.
No, you do not need to have it finished. I forget the exact point where you can kind of jump into it, but I think it's probably at the beginning of, I don't want to spoil too much, but
after the big fight,
after a big fight, one of the first big fights.
Yeah, the big fight that feels like the end of the game, but then it isn't.
We're not done.
Yeah, I actually see the same for Hearts of Stone because there's a couple of little spoilers that happen sort of in that area as well around there. So let's dive into it. I guess the first really boring question I'm going to ask is, how long is this? How big an expansion pack is it? It sounded like they were trying to make a sort of like a small little addendum to The Witcher, and after talking to some of the CD Projekt Red folks a couple of months back, it sounded like this expansion pack had actually gotten away from them and was quite big. Does it feel big? Does it take a long time to complete?
So if you just want to blaze through the story, it'll probably take you about 10 hours. Like the story is not super long, but the area is massive. There are a ton of new quests. There's a ton of new stuff to collect. Like you could easily spend 40 to 50 hours. I think Kevin Van Orden in his review said he spent 40 hours, and I think I'm at about 30 maybe. But I'm already starting my second run through now. So by the time I'm done, I could, I don't know, easily sink 50 hours into this.
Awesome. Kevin gave it an 8 out of 10 on GameSpot. Rob, you've only played 2 hours, but you're a massive fan of The Witcher. Is there any questions you have for Jake about this? Like, what are the sort of things that you want to know about?
Well, I know a lot of people were on the same boat of, will you be seeing a lot of familiar characters from the main game?
All right.
You don't have to spoil it.
Yeah, I'm not going to say too much about this, but there are some very good new characters that they add, and there are some characters who will return, but their role isn't as big as I hoped. But then part of it too is because the save that I played, like I said, was part of the advanced copy. Like I wasn't able to use my save, and I think if I was playing on my save, when I've tied up more of loose ends, it might be kind of different. Like I might see different characters. I'm trying to be as vague as possible.
Right.
Yeah, you're doing good.
I don't want to spoil this. But yeah, there are definitely some surprises. But you'll be spending most of your time with Anna Henriette, the Duchess of Toussaint, who I think is an excellent character. There's another character who I also won't spoil, but he's from the books. I know a lot of people, when I said I wasn't going to spoil it, like everyone in the comments figured out who it was.
Right, okay.
But I mean, it's pretty easy to figure out if you have read the books.
How many of these people can you have the sex with?
One, I think.
Okay, great, all right.
Well, he let's just say Jake here.
Like without mods. So, like we all know about the mods. You can just have sex with anyone you want.
He was editing a gameplay clip of something.
Okay.
And I will just say it was a joy to watch.
It was definitely the most ridiculous sex scene they've had. Like
Really?
Oh
like,
my god, yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like they're still
No.
tasteful.
Feel free to describe it in excruciating detail.
So,
You're a video game journalist, Jake.
so it's basically zero gravity sex. So
All right. Fuck.
that's
All right.
yeah.
I mean,
That's it.
video
That's all
games,
you get.
We did it. We did it anyway. Video games did it.
That's all you get.
2016. It happened. May 31st. Beautiful. We got
yeah.
there.
Oh,
We
it's
got
here.
there. Okay.
That's the big sex scene of the game. There might be more. I haven't come across any other sex
you know it.
scenes.
He hasn't come
There's
across
nudity.
any. Hey.
Okay.
Hey.
So what else is
Hey.
in this update?
That's actually it.
What I'm really excited is I think like the main drive for me is there's this whole new skill tree for mutagens.
Oh yeah.
That and when we saw the preview build, they hinted at you basically can upgrade your Ard sign to throw down like a freezing AOE type of move. Have you tried out any other ones? I know there's 12.
Right.
So I've tried out a few. One of the big things with that is that you need greater mutagens. If you don't know what that is, basically you just need to farm mutagens in order to get these.
Right.
And then you need lots of skill points. So unfortunately with the PC build that I was playing, I didn't get to use a lot, but I did get to use some, and the ones I did get to use were really cool. They were slightly overpowered, but I think that's the point, right? This is kind of like their final outing, so it's kind of...
Right.
You just kind of have fun. Like one in particular that I really liked was every time you counter someone whose their health is like below 25%, you get an instant finisher, and the finishers in this game are really cool. So
that's
it's like you counter it, and Geralt like dodges and cuts the guy's head off, and all sorts of gory things like that, which is a lot of fun.
Does that? Sorry. Go ahead.
Such as like just straight up new finishers, or would you say that there are some that you've seen before?
They're ones you've seen before, but the thing is normally it was kind of random when those would happen.
Okay.
Like I think there was like a certain percentage to dismember, and in this it happens no matter what.
So does all this stuff we're talking about, does that pull back into the main game? Like if you had unfinished quests, like I have a bunch of unfinished quests in the main game, would all that mutagen stuff, would that pull back into the main game as well, or is it sort of isolated?
So if you have Blood and Wine, then yes.
Right.
If you don't have Blood and Wine, you'll still get the new UI, but you won't get the new mutagens.
Okay.
So yeah, if you complete the quest you needed to get those mutagens, then you can go back to Skellige or whatever, and you'll still have all these sort of OP mutagens at your disposal.
Sweet. I guess the last question on this is, like, as somebody who is a big fan of this series, like you've completed The Witcher 3. How many times have you completed Wild Hunt at this stage?
3.
Okay, 3 times. That's quite a lot. It took me like 200 hours to complete it once. You have no life. That's fine. Don't worry about it. As somebody who's a big fan of the series, did this feel like a good sort of last farewell? Are you satisfied with what it ended up being? Because, waited almost a year for this expansion. What did you think about it, Jake?
So I was very satisfied with it. I kind of like what I said before. Like I think I need to replay it with my save because some of the loose ends that may have not been tied up in that save are definitely tied up in my save. So I kind of like to see how the ending differs with that. But in terms of like Geralt's story, I think it's a great finish to Geralt's story. And I think just sort of they take a lot of sort of liberties with this, with their final one. They play a lot of jokes.
I mean, because at the end of the Wild Hunt, the Geralt story for whatever way it's kind of wrapped up anyway, right?
Yeah.
So is this sort of like a fun little jaunt off to the side?
Exactly, and it kind of doesn't take itself nearly as seriously as the main game, even though it is still very dark. But like
it's like Saved by the Bell, like summer break,
sort of.
Whatever.
It sort of does kind of feel like that. But I was showing Rob one place in particular that you get to later in the game, which looks like it's taken straight out of like a beautiful fantasy book.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
It's absolutely gorgeous. I mean,
that's what's super cool about this expansion, I would say, is how much different it looks stylized wise. Like it's a very bright, like I'm just having played almost all weekend. God, it's like overcast, raining the whole time. It's like it's a very gloomy area for the most part,
like No Man's Land and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
But this is the exact flip of the tone pole. Like it seems like a very cool, refreshing area to explore.
That's excellent. Looking forward to it. $20 you said, Jake?
I think it's 25.
25?
25 you have the season pass.
Got it.
And you get it for free if you have the season pass already. And then it's 20 if you don't have it, but you might as well get the season pass and get Hearts of Stone as well.
Hearts of Stone was pretty good.
Yeah.
Smaller, but definitely worth playing. All right, there you go. 8 out of 10 on GameSpot.com. You can check it out yourself. Folks, let us know if you're going to be interested in picking up The Witcher 3 and whether or not you're happy with how that whole series ended. Let us know in the comment box below.